By the end of this video, I'll teach you how to find profit targets using key levels, supports and resistance, trend lines, and choppy zones. What's going on, guys? It's Christian from Stock Hours, and today's video, I'm going to teach you guys how to find different profit targets on your stocks. So I'm going to go over with a couple different stocks just so you guys can see for reference. But we're going to start off using key levels. So let me just share my screen. Boom. Let's go to Meta because I know this was a better example. So for Meta here, first off, you want to start off at the bigger time frames, and you can see clearly we're trading at all-time highs. So you don't have really key levels to work off of here. But when you come into smaller time frames, you can start finding different key levels that you might want to target in your trades. So I'm going to show you the trade that I took that I was able to find key levels for targets very quickly. So this is a trade I took last week. So we basically had a downtrend, and this day we started breaking up. So this was 2/7. This was Wednesday of last week. So you can see once we started breaking up, around here, I was looking at the chart to see, okay, where would be a good place to take this trade and where would be a good place to target. So let me just delete everything that I have here and then show you guys kind of how I identified some of this. So the original setup came from obviously this downtrend, and then it started breaking with momentum to the upside. So with that being said, I want to see where are going to be key levels of interest to look out for. So the first level is going to be here. It's basically just the prior day high. That's going to be the first level where either we're going to start slowing down with momentum or break out and then continue moving up to the next areas of resistance. So then the next one we have here, it's not the high of the prior day, but it's a key pivot point to where we pushed up and then moved back down from there. So these are two pivot points that you can identify on the chart. And then the last one I had was here, and the reason for that is because basically this whole range here is pretty choppy. So after we hit this, what was once support is gonna in a lot of scenarios turn into resistance. So these were the three targets I had for the trade. Now, knowing that I had multiple targets, I can scale out at each different target and then hope to hit the highest one, or I can just hold until price action tells me, all right, this target is going to be the main one. This is where it's worth scaling out. But this gives you something to hold to and look for in anticipation. So let me just show you kind of how it played out. So you can see the first two targets kind of broke in that first move, and then we ended up hitting this last one, and then that was the high for the day. So that's why it's important to have targets so you know where is likely to have a reversal or top out or even bottom out for the day. So I'm going to show you the 1 minute just so you can see how it actually played out at these targets. So it is the 7th. Cool. So you can see obviously we topped out here later on in the day. Would that have been worth holding? In my opinion, no, because you have enough telling you to get out here, and holding for another 2 hours for basically $1 move, in my opinion, isn't worth it. Especially when you have red flags, this early on. So basically the trade that we took, or I'll just show you different trades you could take. You could have taken this break here, or you could have taken this break here. So I think I took it around here, anticipating this break. So this is basically an inverse H right here, but my first target was right here. But since I knew I had bigger targets, and since this broke very aggressively, it gave me a second to hold a little bit longer to see if we hold this level, if we start giving it up, then that's, a smart place to sell. You can scale out when we first hit this target and then, try to hold for the rest. But what I did, I just held since this was a strong push, very weak pullback here, and then we pushed back up. So I sold around here at 469. So that's how I played it. The reason I didn't hold longer is because momentum was dying out. So I think I sold one of these two candles when we kind of wicked and we couldn't really hold above this area. So that's where I sold, and it was doing that right at that profit target. But obviously my next one was all the way up here. But for it to hit this would need clear momentum breaking us through, and it kind of slowed down a good amount. So I just got out there, and plus I was already up a lot. So that's how you use key levels as profit targets. So I'll show you guys again kind of how I found these. These were just pivot points that I found on the chart. So the reason this was the main one, kind of like I was saying in the beginning of the video, zones are going to be good areas to target, because this could be where sellers are pretty much set up at, versus this is just a pivot point to where you can break here and then move into this next zone, which we ended up doing. So if I extended this, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So you see we broke, came back up, tested it, rejected, held below, tested it, rejected, and then we eventually came through. So that's what I look for when I'm trading a zone. I usually just look for the beginning of the zone or something like that. Now the next thing is going to be trend lines. So you can find trend lines on pretty much any time frame. I'm going to open a different stock because I have good examples here. So Nvidia, pretty sure. Yes. So when you're trading a stock that's at all-time highs, so you can see Nvidia's obviously at all-time highs, you're not going to have key levels to look back at, because these are obviously all untested levels. But something you can do is look for trend lines like this. So for example, I have two on the chart right here. So let's say this bottom one, let's say you wanted to trade basically a breakout of this high, you could have targeted this trend line. And you can see that it did respect, but obviously it pushed through after. But pretty much all aftermarket, it was kind of hovering around where that trend line was, holding that support. And then this one is more of, it's been rejecting off this trend line. So you can see we have multiple tests of this trend line. So that's what shows me that it's a valid trend. And you can see today, I drew this before today, so this is actually cool that it played out like this. But today you can see we had a steep rejection off the trend line. So from 746 went all the way down to 719 basically. So that's why looking at trend lines is going to be good, because this is going to be an area where sellers might look to take profits, or where shareholders might look to take profits if they're in from like down here or something, for example, seeing that this is a resistance that's always moving. Now, one thing with trend lines, let's say you were charting over the weekend, you're going to see that the trend line is at 740. But the farther you go, the higher the trend line gets, in an uptrend at least. So, we can come tomorrow and break this high by, $10 almost, just because the trend line is moving every single day. So it gives you more room every day. So it doesn't mean just because we hit this trend line today that we won't be able to play it tomorrow. You just have to keep in mind that this trend line gives you, however much room it has for the specific day. So I'll go to another stock. I think this one, yeah. So this one also had a trend line. I think this was on the 1 hour. Yeah. So again, you can see we have multiple tests of this trend line. So there, and then today again we rejected off that trend. So that's why looking at trend lines on different time frames is going to help you identify how you might want to take your trade. So when you come into different time frames, you're going to just want to see if there's, trends that you might want to target in your trade. But yeah, so something like this, I personally look for 3 tests in a trend line, but if there's, more, then it's definitely going to be a solid trend. So this one, you can consider this being multiple tests right here, and then here, and then here. So this is what makes this a strong trend for me. It's because it shows respect over time. But the last thing that I would use for a profit target is not the most important to me, but it is going to be something that you want to look for, are going to be key psychological levels. So since we're on this stock right now, basically every $5 or $10 is going to be a significant level. So 800 is definitely going to be a significant psychological level. It's where a lot of people are going to maybe have their orders set. So, if you're in from 600, for example, you might want to sell at 800. So just set a limit order. So if you hit 800, then you would sell. So that's why levels like that are going to be important to look out for. But pretty much every $5 or $10 is going to be a psychological level. Now, when you come to a smaller stock, let's say Tesla, for example, you might want to just look at every dollar for a psychological level, because you might have sellers set up at, or like orders set up at 195, 194, 193, and so on. So every dollar on smaller stocks, or $5 to $10 on larger market cap stocks. So it's important to look for this before the trade, so that you know what to expect and what to look out for. If everything works for you, where you would want to take profits, because you can just hold until you get a red flag. But if you hold to a high probability profit target, then you might get a better sell, and you won't have to hold longer just to see, can this keep going or is this going to reverse. So hopefully you guys like this video. If you have any questions, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below, and make sure you like and subscribe. We have more videos coming out all the time. So see you guys soon. Peace.